Limited Softball is 60 of the world's best, all trying to move up the leaderboard. That leaderboard determined by our innovative scoring system.
Jesse Warren playing like an MVP. Oh my goodness! Makes the play!
Odyssey Alexander.
The laser double play!
Each laying down the punch. Not going to get her.
The best players in the world. Hey everyone, and welcome to Week 5. We are in the home stretch of the 2024 AU Pro Softball season. I'm Savannah Collins, joined by Kat Alsterman and our captains for the week. Before we get into these picks, let's talk a little bit about how these athletes got here. Starting off with Team Lorenz, going 3-0 last week for 350 win points. They swept every single inning but one. And for me, the highlight was being able to pull off 3 shutouts. Kat, what did you think of Team Palacios, who went 2-1?
Team Palacios was strong. Obviously, the team culture has been there. Sachelle did a great job of putting together athletes who really kind of not just vibe together, but able to work off of each other and create momentum together. And they did a tremendous job. And even going into that last game against Team Lorenz, put up a good fight. Just Team Lorenz was so strong top to bottom, but really was impressed with what Palacios put together in her run as a captain.
It was such a week to lead into what would be the final captains, because you had Team Lorenz and Team Palacios going into that last day at 2-0. And then you had Team Kilfoyle and Team Paramo at 0-2, desperate for a win. Team Kilfoyle came out on top. So they had a 1-2 record, 130 win points. And then Team Paramo went 0-3, only 40 win points. I thought it was a good squad. They just couldn't quite get it done on offense to be able to fight in these games. So this is how the captains that you see here move to the top. You have Amanda Lorenz remaining in gold. Georgina Korick making a huge and crucial jump this week. We'll talk about how she did it in a little bit. Alicia Ocasio back as a captain, one of the champions who has a chance to do it back-to-back. And then Lexi Kilfoyle still hanging in there at the top. She's been a repeat captain in her rookie campaign. And these are your 4 captains who will lead the last teams of the season. Okay, as usual, we're going to have this as a snake draft. Lexi Kilfoyle is going to lead things off. She'll start. We'll go through the first 2 rounds, letting these captains make their picks. Maybe their plans are locked in and this will go quick. If not, we'll hop in and chat. And then from there, we will talk about these teams and what it will take to win. Okay, Lexi has the first pick of the draft. We'll let her lead things off.
Ready? Yeah. Pitcher, Catherine Sandercock.
Okay, that's the first pick. First pitcher off the board. Kat Sandercock going number 1 in this draft. And what a week Kat had, seeing the numbers, being able to have saves, then come out in the start. She was so impressive to me every week, but this week she just shined.
Well, she's really consistent in short spurts, and so it was a matter of time. I didn't think she was going to get all the way to Amanda Lorenz for the first pick.
We can see some frustration already. Only 1 pick in, and maybe we're just trying to figure out what the plan's going to be. We'll see if Alicia Ocasio is ready to lock in her first pick.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if she had Sandercock as her first pick.
Me
Thinking
too.
that Lexi would have chose someone else.
I would have thought that Lexi, Alicia, or Georgina could have had Kat as their first pick.
Pitcher, Megan Faramo.
Another pitcher off the board, Megan Faramo, going to Team Ocasio. I have a feeling this is what we're going to see throughout this draft, especially in these first couple of rounds. This pitcher's going first, and Georgina's ready for hers.
Pitcher, Taylor McQuillan.
Taylor McQuillan off the board, going to be playing in orange again this week. That leaves Amanda Lorenz to make her first pick, and she's ready.
Pitcher, Peyton Gottschall.
Peyton Gottschall off the board. Okay, this is your first round. I was trying to make my predictions of who was going to take who first, and we'll have to dig into it. This is what we thought was going to unfold. Amanda's ready for her next pick.
Middle infielder, Hannah Flippen.
Flip is going to spend another week on Team Lorenz after being together week after week and putting together some fantastic teams.
Catcher, Sashel Palacios.
Sashel going to Team Cork. They're reuniting after their 3-0 week 3. They were together, a battery we saw throughout that week that was super effective. And I think this is where we're going to start to see things maybe slow down a little bit in these picks. I know we were trying to make our predictions, Kat. What do you think so far of that first round?
What we talked about it off air was that in order to throw Amanda for a loop a little bit, the 3 pitchers were going to have to select pitchers, and they did. They selected 3 strong pitchers. Gottschall been throwing extremely well in her own right, so Lorenz got a really good starter there. The question is just going to be now into week 5 of this, is she going to be able to continue to be strong in the circle?
Middle infielder, Skylar Wallace.
Skylar Wallace, one of those elite hitters this season, a rookie who has burst onto the scene. She's going to be playing for Team Ocasio. Yeah, I think that was something that I was really curious in, is I had an idea of what pitchers would go first, but the thing that I didn't know is who would want to pair up together and based on that draft order, how it would unfold. You know, we've seen Kat Sandercock really be a core of the Team Lorenz pitching staffs since week 2. And to see that finally broken up, I think we're going to see Amanda challenge to put together a different group that could possibly win.
Middle, Sydney Romero.
And Sydney Romero rounds out the second round. Okay, talking a little bit about how these captains got here. One that I want to highlight is Georgina Corrick. She leapt 13 spots up the leaderboard after week 4, which is a huge jump to make it that point in the season. 230 points out of first right now. She has a 3-0 record through 8 scoreless innings in week 4. What have you thought about Georgina's performance last week, and then how this kind of plays into the conversation of who could catch Lorenz here in these final couple games?
Well, Corrick took the big jump, not just from her performances, but also all the win points. As you mentioned, Team Lorenz basically almost swept the entire week of inning points and win points. And so everyone on that team benefited from that. And that's where we see Ocasio and Corrick in these seats as captains. But Georgina Corrick has just been getting stronger and stronger as the season has gone on. And a lot of times as the season goes on, you get hit more and more as they see you over and over. And it's been opposite. Corrick has been able to start to work in and show different challenges to hitters, different sets of pitches, different approaches. And that has really made her very viable in the circle for whoever has drafted her. And now obviously she gets to be in the own driver's seat, but we've talked about it time and time again. Pitchers are going to have to bet on themselves. So these 3 you see here have to probably throw at least 2 games this week, if not also make themselves available to start and or relief of a third game.
Yeah, this is such a unique situation to have 3 pitchers chasing a hitter in first. It's so different, I think, the trends that we've seen as captains, and especially kind of this gap that Amanda Lorenz right now being 230 points ahead of Corrick. Alicia Ocasio is only 6 points behind Georgina, so there could be a shift there. But I think, you know, it's what you said. If you want to catch her and possibly be the champion, I think the only position that can do it is a pitcher because of how they're able to rack up points. And then you have to win your game when you match up with Amanda Lorenz. Because it's just, you're not going to be able to do it unless you take 2 categories at the same time, stat point and win points. It just won't happen. But kind of looking at Alicia's story this season, how she's just continued to get better and better, moved up 8 spots into the third captain's chair. Like I said, only 6 points behind Corrick. We'll see how long she can throw this week because she's another one of those that's proven she can throw complete games, throw for extended innings. I think all 3 of these pitchers have shown that they're able to do that.
They're capable. It's just a matter of with their staff figuring out how they can do that and get enough individual stat points, but as well the win points. So not having to throw all 3 games, but can your pitching staff put together game 2 to where you can maybe go games 1 and 3? And I think the key for that really is going to be Kilfoyle and how she can put her staff together and really utilize it in a game that she's not going to throw. Again, we haven't really seen her throw 2 complete games since week 1.
Right. Yeah, and something I kind of didn't expect to be a big storyline last week was Team Lorenz really didn't have to push a lot of runs because they were shutting out teams. I think about if even those teams could have put pressure on to throw 1 run on the board, 2 runs on the board, it would have changed where we're sitting right now because of all those win points. So it is one thing if you can go out there and, shut down an offense, have a shutout, or maybe only give up a run or 2. But unless you put together an offense as well that is really able to be dynamic, you're kind of in the same spot that you started in of like, oh man, I'm throwing great. I'm racking up those stat points, but we're not getting the in and winning points. That is going to kill you in week 5.
Well, and that's what happened to Faremo.
Yeah.
You talk about when you talk about individual stat points, had the most of the week, but was unable to get win points. And therefore, instead of climbing on the ladder in the leaderboard, she ended up falling out of the captain's chair. But the other piece is, trying to, as we mentioned, pick apart what Amanda Lorenz had going. She keeps flipping, and Taylor Edwards and now Kelsey Stewart, all 3 of those were on her team this last week in week 4. But, Alicia Ocasio also part of that for the last couple of weeks. So now she's out of there. And who else is she going to take with her? And we see Lexi Kilfoyle, a little bit more veteran heavy in this draft so far in the first 3 rounds, excuse me. And we didn't see that from her early this season.
Totally. Looking at Team Kilfoyle so far, since she just locked in that last pick, she's teaming up with Kat Sandercock for the first time this season. I'm really interested to either see those 2 be starters this week, or Kat maybe take on that closer role that she's had. She has the record for the most saves in a season after logging 4 this past week. Then Sydney Romero, Tori Vidalis, Bailey Klingler, Kayla Kowalik. Okay, she's piecing together some offense right now when I'm looking at this purple squad.
Well, her and Sydney Romero have been on the same team. I believe it's 3 weeks in a row now. So that's probably a veteran voice she can listen to. Tori Vidalis, never a bad choice at first base. When she sees a ball, she has the ability to hammer it. You can get multiple runs in an inning when Tori's coming up, if that's the case. And that's some veteran leadership there between Romero and Vidalis, who have both been on winning teams throughout their careers here at Athletes Unlimited, that can help Lexi Kilfoyle. I think with the younger team she's drafted, there wasn't necessarily a voice that she knew she could trust being a rookie in the league. And so it looks like she's found someone in Romero. And then I know Tori Vidalis will put her opinion in too, but both also strong in the infield, strong bats. And we know that Kilfoyle is very comfortable with Kayla Kowalik behind the plate.
Definitely. And thinking about Alicia Ocasio and Megan Faremo on the same team, when those 2 are on, gosh, they are so hard to beat. Thinking about them either combining or throwing on separate days, to me, that's a start of a really strong team. Then adding in Skylar Wallace, Bubba Nichols, Erica Biancastelli, and Delaney Wiz. Blue is standing out to me as a really strong team, only 5 picks in.
I agree. Skylar Wallace, one of the most consistent bats so far in Athletes Unlimited, and just defensive play as well at shortstop. But I think she would have moved up the leaderboard more last week and possibly been in the captain's chair if she was on a team that had more win points. The win points really hurt Skylar Wallace last week, and nothing she can do about it when she's not captain. But Bubba Nichols also really one of the most powerful hitters right now in the league consistently. So I think Ocasio is doing a good job of balancing some consistency along with power plus veteran and rookie leadership there.
Yeah, looking at that blue squad, Skylar Wallace in particular, I know we were talking about it before we got started. To me, it's so impressive for her to still be in 6th place despite going 0-3 last week. That just shows you how much she's racking up stat point-wise and MVP point-wise and being clutch. I think she's a really strong pick for Alicia's 2nd in this draft. And then we're starting to see court come together. This looks just like week 3 Team Palacios. I think so far it's identical to that squad that she led. I'm going to pull it up and see if it is. So looking at week 3 Team Palacios, Charlize is back. Obviously, Georgina and Sashell are together. Aubrey Leach, Haley McClenny, and Sis Bates. So far, that roster is the exact same roster as the 3-0 week 3 team. Really neat how we've seen players really team up this season. I think that's been a little different. Things usually shake up each draft. I feel like there's pockets that continue to stay together.
Well, and it's all, if you're going to break up a pocket, you have to do it early. So you have to kind of bet that breaking up the pocket is going to be worth it. And I think it kind of depends on what you need. And obviously going into week 5, and that's where I think I mentioned it in one of our other draft shows. Week 5 was where when we left the field on week 4, I looked at Gwen and said, sorry, you can't be the first pick in week 5. And she knew it because I had to go get a pitcher that could throw that game too, or throw 2 games if I didn't need to throw. And so, they really know that they have to have somebody else who can rack up win points in the circle with them. So they all went with pitchers. Well, that allows Team Lorenz to keep Hannah flipping. She's had her every week. We now see Taylor Edwards, Victoria Hayward, repeat athletes on Lorenz's team. And same thing. Now Coric able to recreate Team Palacios. And it happens from time to time. Jessie Warren, week 1 of season 1, drafted a really great team. And it was probably week 3, I think we put a good core of that team back together, maybe week 4. And it was just exciting because you do know how you vibe. You know how you guys can play together. So it's just been interesting, though, how many people haven't tried to risk breaking up a group of athletes and just kind of sticking even to their own.
Agreed. I can't help but wonder if it's like, oh, did you guys forget that we went 3-0 in week 3? Maybe we didn't do that in week 4, but I'm going to go back to that same group and pull them together. The only piece that's missing is Megan Faremo. She was swapped out with Taylor McQuillan, obviously because of the order of those picks. So that's funny to me to see how this is coming together. We're seeing Alyssa Denham here picked in the 7th round. I definitely was about to say, I think it's time for Amanda Lorenz to lock in her next pitcher. So obviously she started things off with Peyton Gottschall, but she's only thrown 12 innings so far this season. She doesn't have a big load like a lot of these other pitchers do. Hannah Flippin, then Taylor Edwards, Stewie, Masson, Hayward, and Denham. So we're kind of starting to see the staff come together for Team Lorenz here after their 7th round pick. What do you think so far of seeing Gottschall? Been effective, not a ton of innings. Masson, who's thrown 25 innings. Right now she has a 3.87 ERA. And then Denham, who to me can be the pick to click at any given time. I'm always confident in her ability in that way.
Yeah, what I like is you have 2 that are really good spinners. So you have Denham, who not heavy drop off speed. Then you have Peyton Gottschall, good curve, rise, spin. So they're going to play off each other. You have Masson, who can do a little bit of everything. The key for Lorenz is going to be not having a short leash and not leaving one in too long. She's going to have to play the matchup game. She's going to have to piece her staff together. As you mentioned, Denham can get hot and go deep in a game, so you let her ride. But, with the other ones, I feel like occasionally they get hot, but you're really going to have to be ready to have someone come in the second it looks like a team is starting to time them up.
Yeah, I think Amanda has really become really good at that this season, especially being able to put together 3 shutouts. She never just went with one pitcher in those. It was always a combined shutout. It was Alicia and Kat, Georgina and Kat. So to me, she's proven she has that ability to do that. Maybe just about as great as anybody here in this league right now from what we saw from her this past week.
Well, I would hope as an elite hitter that you can figure out, what do I not want to see after I just saw this pitcher? And so after you see Gottschall, who do you not want to see next, or what would make hitting difficult? And I think Amanda's able to approach it from that angle. And for her, it's really been able to pay off to be able to piece them together, even if it's 1 or 2 innings here and there for somebody. Buy into that role and go get the win points for that 1 or 2 innings.
I know we've talked about how Coric, Ocasio, and Kilfoyle have either gotten to the top or stayed in the top, but the story of Amanda Lorenz this season has been incredible. Just to throw some stats out for you fans. So she continues to lead the league in hits, 18 hits this season. She's led that category for the past couple weeks. She has 3 home runs, a .450 average. And here's the stat that stands out to me. She's only struck out 3 times in 40 at-bats. She is putting the ball in play right now. That is so hard to do at AAU. And it's funny because I think about her being in gold, really has the possibility to be our next position player to win the championship season. It's not like Deja's season where it was really anchored by home runs. It's through consistent hits.
Well, consistent hits, and as we've mentioned, she's been able to put teams together that win. So that's a combo that is just going to pay off. And I think that very similar. I mean, Odyssey threw quite a bit, but still didn't lead in stat points her year, right? So she got win points that really pushed her up the board. And so I think as much as sometimes fans sit here and talk about how Athletes Unlimited and especially championship season can be so focused on individual points, it's not the individual points that push you up the board. If it were, Skylar Wallace would be in a captain seat, but she's not, or Megan Faremo. But they're not. And so I think it's a big opportunity as a team to figure out how you just figure out to win each single inning. But it's really interesting right now seeing how these rosters are starting to shape up. Amanda Lorenz still sticking with her people. You mentioned Kelsey Stewart-Hunter, who was on her roster last year, Vic Hayward. She has Harshman back on her roster, another one that has been pretty consistent, someone that she wants to draft.
I love this call out from Haley Lipson in the chat. McClenny, Sam Fisher, and Sashel all get to finish their careers together on the same team, and now I'm crying. Great call out, Haley. I hadn't even put that together yet. The 3 athletes who have announced they're retiring are going to finish their season together on the same team. Just going to say, sometimes stuff like that leads to a lot of magic, a lot of good juju.
It can be a lot of magic or a lot of good juju. It could also be a lot of emotions to work through.
That's true. That's true. It's something I think about kind of in our seasons. We'll have those moments where you're just like, oh, whether you want to call it the softball gods or good karma, like kind of come into play. And it's like, sometimes we've seen big moments like that, which has been really neat. So if there's a team that I think that has kind of those things going for them right now, it's Cork, but I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat really liking this blue team. And I got to agree as we're starting to see these picks roll in.
Well, again, something we talked about off air is Ocasios is not unfamiliar to this draft process, especially in week 5. So she knows what it's going to take in order to be able to come in and disrupt the groove that Amanda Lorenz has been in. Georgina Corrick doing a great job as a first-time captain, to be honest, of putting together a very strong team. But I know Alicia Ocasio, she has a method to her madness.
She does. Yeah, that's somebody that I'd never count out because she just knows how to game it. She really does. Not only from her personal perspective as a pitcher, she can put that together with her skills as a captain. She knows how to lead and communicate with a group. I know she scouts heavily. Like, she's just somebody that you can never count out. And now sitting at number 3, watch out. That's all I'll say. Watch out.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at her infield right now, and she has Skylar and Anise Artez. So I'm assuming she's going to move Skylar to short and let Nice play, to second and let Nice play short. Now that could flip. You have Nadia Taylor who can play first, Delaney Wiz at third. You also have Ocasio herself who can drop it in the outfield or probably play first base if she needs to. So she's got a strong infield, and she's got Bubba anchoring the outfield with Bianca Stelly. I feel like Stelly might have been a high pick, but that might be one that she goes to war with that person, and that's who she wants. But she's really being smart. Oh, and I forgot Aaliyah Andrews. So you have the speed in the outfield. I mean, you can't knock that roster that Ocasio has put together.
Yeah, when I'm looking at that, especially as a defense, knowing that she's a ground ball pitcher too, wow, like that is a really, really solid core with great leadership behind you. I like this blue group a lot coming in. We're starting to see Kilfoyle start to fill out her roster. She's switching some things up this week from her normal picks. So we talked all the way until Kowalik. We'll play a little bit of catch up now. Harding, McKenney, Jacobson, Davidson, Willis, and Rudley putting together the squad. Some repeats, some new ones. I'll tell you, I was really impressed with Sarah Willis this past week. I like her in a starting role. I would put her in that situation again, just maybe take her out a little bit sooner if than she was left in this past week. But I thought she really thrived in that kind of new job on a team versus coming in as a mid-reliever closer.
Well, and you have to know she was comfortable as a starter in college, and so maybe that mid relief, especially against elite hitters, is not something that she's adjusted to yet. But right as I was giving Kilfoyle props for taking some veterans, she went rookie heavy again. So she likes to ride with the first years. Sydney McKinney's in there as a second year, obviously, but Kilfoyle, I'm going to have to look to see if she finds somebody here in the last couple rounds with a little bit more veteran leadership other than just Sydney Romero and Tori Vidalis.
Here's a look at who's left. Rachel Garcia, Kayla Beaver, and Hope Trotwine as for pitchers. A little bit of an outfield core still there. I was about to say, can't believe Morgan Zirkle is still there, and then she disappears. So she just got picked. Handful of catchers, not many infielders left, though. Whoever just asked for that. Oh, Haley, it's you again. I would love to see Morgan Zirkle in orange. There you go. She's joining Team Cork this week. Val Cagle going back with that same squad that she's super comfortable with. She's someone I've really enjoyed getting to know and watch this season. And then there's Rachel off the board for Team Lorenz. Gosh, these are some competitive teams.
I'm going to guess Ocasio is going to end up with Jordan Roberts. And that's a matchup that's actually really good in the fact that not only do they know each other from Florida, but you've seen Jordan Roberts thrive when she's under captains that have belief in her. And I think just looking, I think Ocasio, and she may not even have to draft her right away. That might be I don't want to say default, but she might be not picking her because she needs the last catcher spot. And everyone else might have two. I know Kilfoyle has two, Cork has two. I don't know. I don't think Lorenz has taken her second one. So that would be the other question right there.
That's a good call out, though, how these captains can use the positional requirements to their advantage. You know, I know Alicia and Jordan love playing together, but you don't have to use that pick if you know you're probably going to get it. There she goes. That's a great call of just sometimes it doesn't really have to do with your talent or how valuable you are to a team. Sometimes it's just your position and what the other captains have done so far. Man, I do really like the combo of Gwen and Jordan, and then thinking about Alicia and Meg, you know, being able to either split time behind the plate, come up with some like true battery situations. I love that on Team Lorenz last week, watching her utilize Gwen and Taylor Edwards in that way. Gosh, these teams, I feel like each week our guesses have been pretty good, which I feel like this is a first for me. I'm usually consistently wrong. And this year, I feel like we've been pretty on.
Well, I think I hate to say it, but I think some of the captains have been predictable in like who they stay with, who they trust. And so therefore it's made it a little easier. But I will say, like, looking at it, the one pick to me that stands out, Kelsey Stewart-Hunter has not gone above the 6th round, I believe. And Amanda Lorenz took her in the 4th round this week. And I don't know if that's because they just played together and won, or if she also didn't want Ocasio to have her. So she picked her earlier. Because as consistent as Stewart-Hunter has been over her career with Athletes Unlimited, typically not that high of a pick.
That's a great call out. I know we were kind of talking about what it would take to win. You were doing a little bit of math pre-draft. Can you kind of put those numbers into context? It's hard to do because it just depends on, obviously you have to play well, but then where the win points fall. But what did you kind of piece together of like what's possible, especially for a pitcher?
Well, so a pitcher has to, one, you cannot play Team Lorenz and go back and forth. When you go back and forth with Team Lorenz, it's almost impossible then to catch her. So you have to make sure that you put yourself in the best possible situation to get as many of the inning points against Team Lorenz as possible. Then you have to also put yourself in position to be able to get at least one complete game, if not 2 complete games worth of points. Is it now, if you throw, as we talked about, Lexi Kilfoyle in her last game this last week, complete game shutout. So you're talking 84 points. She got MVP 3, which was 20 points. So now we're talking 104 points. But then you talk about the 120 win points. So throw that in there. So a 224 point game. Now, are you going to be able to do that every single outing? Maybe not, but how close can you get to that to allow yourself to gain on the leaderboard? And if you can do that against Team Lorenz, those are points Amanda doesn't get. So I think that's the big thing is how many points can you get yourself? And then the other question mark might be, do you feel like you yourself as a pitcher can beat the other two teams better or compete better against them as opposed to Amanda's team. So can somebody else compete against Amanda's team to keep the win points close enough that maybe you gain your points in the other two games not playing against Team Lorenz? So it'll be interesting to see, but all three pitchers are going to have to bet on themselves at least twice this weekend.
Without a doubt. Yeah, when we're talking about who could be the champion, Amanda Lorenz has been consistent. She has shown that she knows what it takes to not only win with her team, but win on the leaderboard and being able to pick up points. She is hot right now. And the only position that could possibly catch her is a pitcher in one of these situations. But they're going to have to combine being able to go for long and being able to win. These are your week 5 teams. Fans, I'd love to know which teams you're rocking with. I'm starting to see your answers come in the chat of who you're going to be rooting for in week 5. I'm seeing a lot of noise for Orange. I like Orange. I like Ocasio's team too. I know we've talked about why those two stand out to me as being really strong.
Yeah, I think I'm going to – it's so hard. I mean,
it's so
Lorenz
hard.
proven she can win.
Right.
I think Ocasio might have put together probably a balanced roster and pitching staff. You have herself, who's primarily down in the zone, can mix some off speed. Then you got Faremo, who's opposite, up in the zone with some off speed. You got Odyssey in there, who's proven for a couple innings she can be a viable option. So I can see her using those three mainly. Caleb Beaver might be able to give you an inning or two, but obviously with the pick not being as high, I would assume she's going to bank on her and Faremo for the most part. But at the same time, Court grabbed McQuillan. You got the lefty in there. She's known to throw some really great games from time to time. I was shocked maybe that was the pick Court went with first, just because she has struggled the last 2 weeks. She's given up more hits and runs than I think is normal, but maybe it's going to be the magic with Sashel behind the plate that gets them both in a groove to where the win points pile up for Orange. But I don't know. I think I'm going to have to ride with Team Blue.
Yeah. Don't want to knock out Lexi Kilfoyle because I look back to what she was able to do at the beginning of the season, but she's going to have to call her own number consistently this week to really carry her team. She's going to have to do it leadership-wise as a captain, but she's without a doubt going to have to do it as the pitcher and leader of that squad. Seeing a lot of people roll in. I actually love this point. Anyone who has struggled this season seems to thrive under Lorenz. That's a good point. Sometimes it matters who your captain is, how much they believe in you, how that team is gelling. But this is the last week to kind of put some things together, and the most time that the athletes have had since week 3 when they traveled to Greenville. It cut last week short, but we are in a normal week. Draft today, 3 days of practices, and then this week is going to kick off on Friday night. Oh, I'm so excited.
It's going to be exciting. I mean, it could be anybody's race. Again, because it's 3 pitchers, if one of them really has a hot hand for 2 games, this could go down to the wire again, just like it did a couple seasons ago with Denham and Deja. I think it was Denham and Deja, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's it. It really could be anybody's game. And I think, you just look at these rosters and there's no easy lineup, period. But as we saw last week, we thought Megan Framo's lineup would have been a beast of a lineup, and it didn't happen. So that happens too. So while you say some people thrive under certain people's, leadership and or a group of people, sometimes you put a group of people together that look like it would be magnificent, and then for whatever reason, it just doesn't click. And it's unfortunate, but it's nobody's fault that you can point a finger to. But it'll be interesting. I'm really interested to see Kilfoyle win a little different early. I think she was a little predictable down the stretch again, still with the young ones. But can she get that group motivated and rolling? We'll see. But I'm excited. I don't know that there's a cut and dry answer here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways this could go. I loved how balanced it seems like these teams are this week. And like we said, this is who you're going to finish out the season with. Some people, this is who you're going to finish out your career with. So this is going to make for a really special week. Just got to say, Kat, I've loved hosting the draft with you. This has been a blast.
I've had fun too. Hopefully we can do it again next year.
Heck yeah. Fans, thank you so much for tuning in. We love hearing your opinions and what you think as you're watching these teams unfold. And we'll see you on Friday as week 5 kicks off as these captains chase a championship. Thanks all for tuning in. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.